Welcome, everybody. Oh, got that little musical blurb at the end there. Welcome, everybody. Hi, I'm Dan Petrell. I'm the Senior Director for Strategic Communications here from Maryland Realtors. So happy to have all of you with us today. We have a very special guest. Her name is Michelle Berman. She is a nationally sought after Instagram content development coach, and she is here with us today. And she is the speaker and owner of Berman Media PD. And she is the creator of what she is going to present to you today, which is the Instagram Power Method program. Michelle is an expert in understanding and utilizing psychology to help people tap into the power of Instagram and its ability to be a lead generation source for your business, which obviously in the work that you are all doing is very, very important. She has taught and trained thousands of realtors and loan officers across 35 states and 3 countries, and we're excited to have her here. Before I turn it over to her, we have a Q&A box below. Put your questions in there, and we'll be happy to take care of your questions as we go through this. And with that, Michelle, I am turning it over to you, and thank you for joining us today.
Oh my gosh, you're so welcome, Dan. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so looking forward to delivering as much value as I can to you guys in just a short time. But more than importantly, I'm just grateful that all of you guys who are already here are excited about social media and are excited about what this can potentially do for your business. So if Instagram specifically has been one of those things that you've scratched your head about for a long time, I pray that this presentation is going to help you guys make, or at least help you feel like it's a little bit easier than you thought. And to also teach you that it doesn't have to be as cumbersome as you might have thought as well. So couple fun things that I have planned for you guys. And then I do have a fun special announcement at the end that I'll make sure I give you guys. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get my slide deck pulled up here. Let's make sure I can get this to work. There we go. I know we tested it, so it should work. There we go. All right. Hopefully all of you guys can see my screen. Dan, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen over there? Might have lost Dan. Okay, well, I'm going to assume you guys can hopefully see this. If not, drop it in the chat box for me. Sheila says yes. Thanks, Sheila.
I can see it. I'm sorry. I just lost my mouse.
You're totally okay. Thanks, everyone. A couple of you guys were saying yes in the chat box, so I super appreciate that. So the name of the presentation that we are going through today is something that I am super passionate about for every single one of you. And it's this concept of, can we create a hyper-local following on Instagram? Most people think that we can't, right? Most people think, oh, Instagram's this national platform, or it's, worldwide. So why would I spend my time working on that? Because, I can only sell real estate in Maryland. Well, and the reality is that your following should be predominantly where you can sell real estate if you do it. And if you engage and do a lot of the other things we're going to talk about today strategically. So this is something I've mastered over the years, and a lot of my students, if you look at their analytics, their top 5, top 10 cities are all right around where they actually do business. So this presentation should be super powerful for you guys. I hope you take as many notes as you possibly can. But the goal for me is to help teach you guys how to create a following on Instagram that is hyper local to where you guys actually want to and can sell real estate. So let's get into just a tiny bit about me. I don't like doing too much about this, but I just want to make sure that you guys know kind of a little bit about who I am. I know Dan did a beautiful job saying some of that already, but I have been in the industry for 7 years. I've been the owner of Berman Media since November of 2014, created the Instagram Power Method in July of 2018, launched it in July of 2019. And then we absolutely crushed it during COVID. And I think part of that was because all of you guys were so eager to learn and get better at social media, and we were all stuck inside. So what better time to learn how to do all of this? But my philosophy in all of this and everything that I teach is 100% rooted in psychology. And the reason for that is, if we are going to try to attract people, we have to understand how people operate in the first place. So I do not teach based off of fads. I do not care about how many followers you have or how many likes you get on your content. What I truly care about is, are you confident in the content you're putting out? And can you genuinely say that it's the content that your ideal client is actually looking for? And my goal for you is to teach you how to actually do that with confidence, knowing that, yeah, who cares if my post only got 4 likes? I know that those 4 people are probably people that I can actually serve, right? So the idea is quality over quantity, and psychology is at the root of all of that. And another piece to this is, how do we create content that transcends time? So Dan and I were kind of laughing about this earlier, but you don't need, and you shouldn't have, or you shouldn't have to, I should say, create new strategies every single month or every couple of months, right? None of us have time for that. And the reality is that we're really busy and there's a lot of things going on where it's hard for us to constantly be reinventing what our strategy looks like. So the goal with how I teach all of this is, how can we create a strategy that transcends time, that does have to get updated occasionally, but in reality can last us forever. And the entire thing is rooted in what I call the 3 C's, which if we have time to get to that, I absolutely will at the end. But the 3 C's is the power behind what we do on Instagram and really in social media in general. Now I have a quick little assignment for you guys. If you guys are willing to, snap a picture of your screen, tag me on Instagram. I am always on Instagram. I prefer it over email most of the time. So as we're going through any of this, if you guys have questions, that would be a great place to go as well. But snag a picture, tag me on Instagram, tag me in stories if you want to, and I will reshare it. But I'd love to be able to connect with you guys off the platform after we're done with this as well. And my Instagram handle is right there for you guys at the bottom, Berman Media Social. So hopefully I'll see a bunch of you guys over there. Now, I always want to make sure that you guys have an opportunity to get as much free value as humanly possible. So I have been featured on a ton of podcasts, a lot of really, really good information here. So I figured I would put this in here for you guys. Take a screenshot of it if you want to. I'm a big podcast junkie. I love listening to them in the car when I'm driving, or even when I'm, walking the dog, like whatever it is. So I hope if you guys are like me, you'll be able to enjoy a whole slew of them that I've been on. Some of my favorites include Crazy Shit in Real Estate with Lee Brown, which is that second one on that list. An Inman News article that I just recently did, and Voice of Social Sales with Chelsea Pites. Those are probably my top 3 that I've been able to do. So feel free to go take advantage of learning as much as possible before we hit 2022. Now, let's get into the weeds of what this particular presentation is all about. And if anyone is here and kind of 101-ish when it comes to Instagram, that is totally okay. I want you to hang out and learn as much as you can here, because this is actually the most important thing for you to understand before you understand how to even post something. So if you've never posted on Instagram, or if you posted every day for the last 365 days, you're in the right place to learn how to do this better, irregardless of which category you fall into. So no stress about that. Now, there's 3 main things that we need to talk about when it comes to a hyperlocal following and how we generate those on Instagram. And those 3 things are right there smack dab in the center of your screen here. So number 1 is hashtags, number 2 is engagement, and number 3 is following, right? So we're going to talk about each one of these individually and kind of break down what I mean and what I want you guys to take away from each of these 3 categories. But ultimately the growth that we're after, right, creating this following that is local to where we can serve, falls into these 3 categories. And this leads into what I call the 3 C's, which we'll again, hopefully have time to get into at the end. But the 3 main things, number 1 is hashtags, which are, in my opinion, a very underutilized portion of this platform. Most people don't take the time to do the research, to do the things they need to do to actually understand how to use these and really capitalize on what hashtagging can do for us. But hashtags are the tool that we need to be able to use strategically on our content. So we need to know how to look up businesses, local or actual locations, cities, suburbs, developments, the different types of even maybe people that are in our area. If we have the opportunity to connect with pages as a whole, right? And all of that's done through the use of hashtags. Now, the second thing is engagement. So engagement is also, in my opinion, very underutilized. And a lot of times people don't take the time to do it because they think that it should just happen magically. Right? Oh, if I put content out, then somebody's going to respond to it, or I'm just going to get all these leads that flow in because I post content every single day. Well, that's not how it works, right? And if we want to get engagement ourselves and we want to generate a strong set of eyeballs, if you will, that's consuming our content daily, we have to show the platform that we're active. right? So if you guys are familiar with the term algorithm, Instagram's is pretty complex and it changes all the time. But one constant across the board there is that if we are not posting consistently and showing up consistently in comments, stories, DM messaging, replying to comments that we get on our content, all of those things, Instagram just won't show our content to people. So if we are not giving engagement, we can never expect to get it. And that is a very important concept for people to understand. And the homework assignment I always give any of my students is 45 comments per day and 20 story replies. Now that may sound like a lot of work, but I can promise you when I get into the weeds of this number 2 here, that it's really not. And it goes so fast if you have a plan. So my goal is that you can hopefully walk away with a little bit of a plan. Now, number 3 is following. And most of the time when I get questions about who are you following, who should I be following, who should I not, if somebody follows me, should I follow them back? All of those types of questions, they're really common. And one of the things I want you guys to understand is that it's not about how many followers we have, right? It's about how are we connecting with the ones that we have that we actually want to or can potentially work with. So we're going to dive into who to be following, what kind of businesses to be consuming, if that's something that's important to you, your current clients, your past clients, your vendor partners, those types of people. How can we tap into that? So we're going to talk about that a lot when we get to bullet point number 3 there. But let's start with number 1 specifically. We will actually start with hashtags. And I think that this is an important part to start because it's kind of the framework, if you will, for everything else. So hashtags specifically, number 1, the use of them is critical, right? We've already talked about that, but using them strategically is how we grow locally. So I'll say that one more time. Using them strategically is how we grow locally, right? So being able to take the time to do the research and make sure that the ones that we're using are going to be effective for our business is so important. So don't rush this process. A lot of the times creating hashtag sets and the different hashtags we use on our content is something that's really kind of ever evolving. But the idea, right, is that we are paying attention to the ones that we are using and choosing them specifically based off what our outcome or what our goal is. So hashtags are how people find you on Instagram. It is the mechanism in which people can randomly come across your profile. And ultimately that's how we grow, is we get enough people that are randomly kind of finding us through either a hashtag, somebody shared a post of ours into their stories and they, got connected to me that way. There's so many different ways, but almost all of that will always root back to hashtagging. So your choices here, as far as what you use on your content, is very, very key. And I will tell you guys that you have the opportunity to use 30 on every single post, and you should. There is no such thing as the magical use 3 to 5 and you'll get the most engagement thing, or, the most powerful engagement, or you'll get more engagement if you use 11, right? All of these myths that are kind of out there when it comes to hashtagging, it's absolute garbage. And hashtagging is your SEO. So what that means is search engine optimization, just like you guys would, use and pay for Google ads or AdWords, or, making sure that you show up at the high on the search when someone just types your name in, right? Or Maryland Realtor. So those kinds of things are what we typically pay for. But with Instagram, hashtagging allows us to do this completely free, as long as we take the time to make sure that we actually use correct ones. So the thing I want you guys to pay attention to is, what hashtags should we be using on our content? The answer is that the hashtags you choose to use on your content are the ones that you want people to be able to find you in, right? So meaning, if I, Michelle, am moving to a city in Maryland and I look up the city or the hashtag and the name of the city, Realtor, like one word, the idea would be that you would pop up, right? So even if I just type in hashtag Maryland Realtor, you want to be able to show up there. And so being able to use hashtags on your content, you have to think about it in the set or the mindset of the hashtags I'm using. I want them to be the ones that my ideal client would be searching if they were looking for somebody like me, right? So that is something you really need to kind of switch your mindset around. Hashtags are not methods of expression. They are not, hashtag blessed today. right? Which is again, a method of, feeling, right? That's not what hashtagging is designed to be about. It's designed to make it, to allow you to create this mutual connection. Now, one person in the chat box had a great question there. Nick says, what if 1,000 other people are using the same hashtag? That doesn't matter. The idea is using hashtags that can get you found, and then letting everything else that we're going to talk about and everything else that I teach to my students do the talking, right? The idea is hashtags are just meant to help us get found. Now, there are size ranges that I recommend staying within. So if you're going to use a hashtag on your post, my recommendation is anywhere from 5,000 uses to 1 million. Any higher or bigger than 1 million uses, you're just going to get lost. There's really no point in using it. Anything smaller than 5,000, unless it is super, super specific to a very specific area or location that is relevant to you, is too small for you guys to get any traction. So if you guys are unfamiliar with how to search this, if you just open Instagram and you type or hit the little magnifying glass on the bottom in the search bar at the top, you type in hashtag, the pound sign, if you will, the word you're looking for. So like if you look up hashtag Maryland Realtor, you'll see however many uses or however many posts are within that hashtag. And that would be that number, right? So that our goal is to stay again between that 5,000 and million use or post number. Now, one thing I will tell you is a little bit of a hack, is go plural, right? So instead of Maryland Realtor, do Maryland Realtors with an S, and it will magically change to significantly less people that are using it. So there's definitely ways to work around the huge tags that a lot of people are using. And the best example I can give you guys so you can test this is looking up hashtag real estate agent singular, and then look up real estate agents plural, and you guys will see exactly what I'm talking about. But the right hashtags, if we choose them correctly and we do the research on them, they will get you more reach, more engagement, and more followers, ultimately leading to more conversations and more conversions, right? So we can't get conversion, right, if we're not even getting or starting conversation with people. And how does conversation start? We have to be found, right? So that's kind of part of the 3 C's we'll talk about later. But a second bullet point there, be sure to use all 30 of them on every single post. I really think that a lot of times people get scared because hashtags take time, right? We're doing the research, coming up with which ones to use takes time. There is definitely a strategy of how to do it. And all I want you guys to think about is, who's my ideal client? Where are they sitting on their couch where are they scrolling on Instagram when they're sitting on their couch at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, when they get home from work while dinner is cooking, right? That's where we have to hang out if we want to be able to attract the right person for us. So if your ideal client is, somebody who's really into golf, and happens to live in a very specific golf, or wants to live potentially in a very specific golf type community, they probably, when they're sitting at home on Instagram, they're not looking up a realtor specifically trying to sell them a golf course house, right? But what are they looking at? They're looking at golfing videos. They're probably looking at golf pros that are on Instagram. They're probably looking at golf courses and pictures. Maybe they're looking at taking lessons somewhere there or nearby, or trying to find a driving range. So you have to think like your ideal client and live there, knowing that our job is to attract them based off of common and shared interests, right? So most people don't typically go to Instagram specifically and just say, I'm going to try to find an agent in Maryland today, right? That does absolutely happen, but it is not the primary way that people typically go about it. So that's important. Now, the third thing on your screen here is a little bit of a trick that I always try to help people kind of understand. In the automation software that I teach, which if you're not familiar with automation software, it's very powerful. The specific one that I teach is called Planoly, Planoly. All of my students, all of my own clients, everybody, that's what we use. It's the best, in my opinion. It's the easiest. It's the most user-friendly, and it also allows you to auto post to Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest all at the same time. And supposedly LinkedIn is on its way. But automation software, when it comes to hashtagging, another reason why I use Planoly specifically is it allows us to save our hashtag sets, which is so huge. Because if you guys have ever tried to manually copy and paste hashtags multiple times, it's annoying, right? Copying and pasting them from your notes on your phone, trying to put them in a post. It's just like an extra step that's really unnecessary. So I save them in the automation software, again, Planoly, which is Planoly, allows you to save your sets that you create. So if you take the time to do the research and create the sets that are important to the ideal client that you're trying to attract, you can save those in there. And what I always recommend is the sets you save, only making them sets of 20. And then the remaining 10 that you're allowed to use to get to that total of 30, those 10 hashtags that you have left should be very specific to the post itself that you're putting up. For example, if I post I'm here in Dallas actually right now visiting my in-laws for an event that I have tomorrow. And my mother-in-law and I yesterday went to Waco, Texas, right, to go see the silos. I'm obsessed with Chip and Joanna Gaines. So, but my mother-in-law took a really cute picture of me with my son, and I'm going to post it tomorrow. So I'm going to have a set of 20 hashtags that are specific to my ideal client, aka realtors, LOs, people that are entitled, other people who are looking for speakers, that kind of thing, right? So those are my 20. My other 10 are going to be specific to that exact post, right? So things like hashtag Waco, Texas, hashtag Waco Realtor, hashtag Chip and Joanna Gaines, right? The things that are specific to that. One that I actually looked up yesterday is Holiday at Waco, which is just a fun Christmas tag that's been kind of going around on Instagram for people that visit Waco, Texas during Christmas time. So hopefully that makes sense, right? So we have 30 total, 20 of them are specific to our ideal client. The remaining 10 are going to be specific to whatever the image is that we're putting out. So we got a bunch of questions here. Let me make sure I can field these here. So you're saying that if I'm looking for golfers to sell homes, I should put hashtag golf. I wouldn't do hashtag golf. It's way too big. If you do that, like, let's look it up really fast because I don't want to take too much time doing this, but let's do hashtag golf just so I can show who, I don't know who answered or asked that, Monica. Okay. So if we type in golf and you click on it, you will see just hashtag golf. I know you guys probably can't see my screen, but it has 29 million uses, right? That is way, 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 way too big. So if we go golfs plural, it's still too big, right? And here I'm pulling this up here. Oops. So that's still too big. It's pulling up slowly here. Golfs plural is actually not even coming up as a hashtag, but for example, hashtag golf swing is 3.2 million. Hashtag golfstagram, like a play on Instagram, is 2.8 million, right? So it's way, way too big. Now, if you're Monica, if you're in a specific area where you want to sell real estate to people who are interested in golf course property, you need to get hyper local, hence the point of this entire thing, which is, what are the local golf courses to you? What are the local cities near you? What are the local country clubs nearby? Thinking around this concept of golf. One thing you could look up is popular golfers in your area, if there are any, if there's golf schools, if there's like stores that support local, support golf. We have a PGA store actually here in Dallas that made me think of that. So getting more hyper local, using city names, using actual business names. But again, all of that takes research. Why would that be better than just using hashtag golf? Because it's in a specific area where we can actually generate eyeballs that we really want, right? Because if we just use golf, it's like this really big, broad term. 29 million people have posted using it. And those people are going to be from every country, every state under the sun, right? It does nothing for us and doesn't serve our purpose of trying to actually generate a hyper local following. So Monica, thank you so much for that question. That was excellent. Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing, Nick, because when I type in golfs, it did not come up. So I'm 100% with you. Okay, a couple other questions here. So Betty says, I talk so fast, it's hard to keep up. I'm so sorry. I only have a very short amount of time, so I'm trying to give you guys as much information as I possibly can. But yes, the automation software itself is called Planoly, Planoly. It looks like a couple of you guys were able to put that in the chat box for people. So thank you guys for taking care of that. And Shelby actually dropped the link. So that's awesome. Now, Kelly's question, what are you looking up good hashtags just on Facebook or on IG? I do not do any hashtag research whatsoever on Facebook. It is 100% on Instagram. Facebook is not set up to use hashtagging effectively like Instagram yet, right? If you guys have ever noticed what Facebook's platform looks like, it's really not meant to be hashtag or meant to be used with hashtags. Content that we put out there is not for that. Facebook, in order to get traction, we all know this, you got to pay for it, right? Why do business Facebook pages not get a whole lot of traction or a whole lot of engagement? Because Facebook wants you to have to pay to get those eyeballs. We've all seen that. We've all, experienced that. That's why, in my opinion, Instagram is a superior platform. Yes, I know Facebook owns Instagram. I've owned Facebook stock for many, many years, but it's important to understand that the way we use each platform is totally, totally different. And hashtags are a specific thing for Instagram and even Twitter a little bit now. So it's just important to understand what platform you're doing. Kelly saying, I think she said she's on IG. Yeah, absolutely. IG is definitely where I am. And yes, thank you, Stacy. The magnifying glass at the bottom is how you search and do research on hashtags. Thank you guys for doing that, or for putting that in the chat box for me. Now let's get into bullet point number 2 here, which is engagement. And I know that I have to go pretty quickly through this, and I will say this again from the beginning of the webinar. If you guys have questions, please just connect with me on Instagram afterwards. I'm more than happy to address any of them that I didn't have time to totally get 100% into during this quick hour with you guys. But how do we create a hyperlocal following with engagement? That is the second portion of what we're going to be talking about. And the answer is that we must engage daily. And this is key to being able to get in front of the people that we want to get in front of, right? We want Instagram to show our content to the right people. So that's really important too, right? Because if Instagram sees that you have never left a comment on anybody else's post ever, why would Instagram want to show your content to anybody else? To ultimately hope, that you can get some engagement there. It's just not going to happen. Right. So Instagram favors those who are active. It favors those who show up in stories. It favors those who show up in DMs, all of the things in DM, just for anyone who might be wondering, stands for direct message. And it is the exact same thing as Facebook Messenger on Facebook, but this particular DM phrase is what's used on Instagram. So just important to understand the difference. But the most important thing about engagement that I want you guys to take away from this is that every single day, if you can focus on a category of the type of person or the type of ideal client you want to attract, your daily engagement all of a sudden no longer becomes cumbersome whatsoever. Now I'm going to help that make more sense here, but I just want you guys to know that every morning, right? If it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, if you wake up with a specific category of where you want to engage for the day. So a couple people have been mentioning golf. Right? So if you use golf as a category for you because you typically sell or want to sell golf course property, that's your kind of niche market, then one of your categories for the week, so maybe it's Monday, you're going to be doing engagement on nothing but golf related stuff. Now, again, that's going to be specific to your local area. So it's going to be country clubs, driving ranges, if they call golf schools, businesses that, sell golf attire or golf stuff. It's going to be local golf professionals. If there are some famous golfers there, following those types of pages and looking up hashtags related to those specific types of things in your area. That's really, really important for people to understand. And then the last thing is that engagement, right? The places that we go to do engagement are typically different than the places or the hashtags we use on our content in most cases. Right? So that 20, right? We talked about this on the previous slide. We have 20 hashtags that are specific to where we would want someone to find us if they went on Instagram searching for it. And then the other 10 were specific to the individual post. So those specific 10 that are very specific to the individual piece of content you put out, those would be the ones where if you clicked into them, those would probably be good hashtags to do engagement on. Why? Because the general consumer or the person you might be trying to attract is probably more likely to be looking at hashtag, Waco at Christmas than they would be hashtag Instagram for realtors, right? So Instagram for realtors would be one of the tags that I use in my set of 20. And then hashtag Waco at Christmas or Waco, holidays at Waco would be specific to that individual post. And that would be a tag that a lot of people would be using. that are just scrolling Instagram. So I hope that that's starting to make a little bit of sense. And let me field some of these questions here real quick before I keep going. Is liking a post considered engaging? And 2 people actually asked that question. The answer is yes. However, I think it's a very weak form of engagement. The best way to engage, there's 2 main ways that I always recommend. Number 1, leaving a genuine and authentic comment on a piece of content. And doing so, there's a lot of people that do this poorly. And let me say that. So if you're going to leave a comment, actually read the caption in the first place. That's super important. Number 2, don't just leave an emoji as an answer, because that's not or don't just leave an emoji as a comment, because there's nothing authentic about that. It just looks like you were trying to do it fast and get it done. The most important thing you can do when it comes to engagement is read the caption, leave a genuine thought. And the third thing is, if it's somebody you really want to interact with, leave a comment with a question, with the intent or the goal of getting the person who you just left a comment on their post to comment back to you. That is something you guys can definitely focus on. Another form of engagement is going to be story replies, sending direct messages. And there's a couple other different ways that I typically teach it. But those are the 3 main ones. Now let's see what these other questions are real quick. Trish also just asked, is like considered engagement? Definitely not. Like we were talking about. Lorraine says, should we engage via our personal IG page or separate professional realtor page? So Lorraine, that's a phenomenal question. Thank you for asking that. You should have a business page, and 100% of you, every single one of you guys listening to this, if you are trying to use Instagram to generate business, you have to, I repeat, you have to be personal on your business page, right? So I have a business Instagram. I'm assuming all 63 of you guys that are on here with me hopefully went and looked at Burma Media Social. You will not just see a bunch of business. You'll see pictures of my adorable 3-month-old son, my husband, my dogs. You'll see pictures of me working out. You'll see pictures of me doing the things that I love doing outside of working. And that is so important. So even though I am a business profile and I'm trying to quote, generate business off my Instagram, the intention is creating authentic connection, which is one of the 3 C's, between me and another person by being myself, right? People are not hiring you because you're a real estate agent. They're hiring you because they have some kind of connection with you. And they therefore think, oh, well, I really like Nick. We have similar things that we enjoy. It looks like he enjoys golf just as much as I do. I should probably hire Nick, right? And the idea is that your profile needs to scream to the people consuming it, hey, I would be awesome to hang out with in a car all day going and looking at property. Or, hey, I would be awesome to talk to you on the phone all the time, because guess what? That's what we're going to be doing if we're going through this buying and selling process. So you have to think about being authentically yourself and not being afraid to share personal content. I have a client who cooks like religiously, crazily, right? Like these crazy, insane recipes. So we decided to make an entire channel on her Instagram, or reel category, if you will, for nothing but her cooking. So now she kind of shows reels of her cooking in her kitchen, mixed in with all of her realtor stuff, or her, valuable information about being an agent, and showing her sold and her listings and all of that. But the idea is that somebody's going to come across her profile, love that she loves cooking. It's going to create connection. It's going to hopefully start a conversation. There's your second C. That then turns into conversion, which is your third C. So that's so important. And Lorraine, thank you again for asking that question. I wish I had more time to go into it more, but that's big. Trolls get a huge engagement. Is this a legitimate strategy? No. Nick, you're funny, but no. Ignore the trolls, the automated bot comments. There's a lot of that stuff out there, if you will. And it's annoying. And anybody who leaves comments on my content, that's just an emoji, or Fox Trader, or hey, go check out my post, or hey, I just sent you a DM. Like if somebody's leaving you message or leaving you comments like that, just move on. Patrick's asking, did I miss where to put the hashtag if I'm posting something? This is Patricia, not Patrick. Patricia, the answer is in your caption. The other option, which Planoly actually allows you to do, is to auto post it as your first comment when your post goes live. So you have 2 options. Cheryl's asking, can you clarify the last point on the previous slide? Different hashtags than you use on your posted content. Is this the 20 versus 10? Yes. So Cheryl, that is exactly what it is, right? So you have a total of 30 hashtags you can use on your content. 20 of them need to be specific to where someone wants to, or where someone would be searching to try to find you specifically, right? So that's going to be more your city specific, your realtor specific type tags. The other 10 are going to be specific to the individual piece of content. And those 10 are going to be things that your ideal client, right? Somebody who's into golf, if you post a picture of you golfing, is probably going to be sitting on their couch scrolling through at 5 p.m, right? So hopefully that answers your question. And I hope that that kind of helps you guys see the segment between the two. Kathy's saying 45 comments a day and 20 story replies. Who has time for that? Kathy, you have to make time, point blank. And the answer is that it shouldn't take you more than 10 to 15 minutes. I can do all 45 comments and 20 story replies in less than 10 to 15 minutes max. And typically I do it a lot of the times in the morning when I'm drinking coffee, or if I'm even in line at Starbucks getting coffee, right? I can do it that fast. So it is not something that should take you a lot of time if you have a plan. That's the key here, right? So if you have a plan, it will be way, way easier, and you'll be able to get after it faster. Now, this is where that plan comes into play, and I want to make sure I have time to get through everything here. So where that plan comes into play is your third place. And this is a term that I've coined over the years, but where you should be engaging is your third place. Now, what is your third place? These are places where you can genuinely say, outside of your work, right? You being home and you being an agent, that you enjoy doing, your passion projects, the things that you go to or that you do. Maybe you volunteer at charities. Maybe you're really into golf. Maybe you're into, I don't know, gardening. Maybe you're into cooking, right? Whatever your passion projects are, those are your quote third places. And the idea is that those third places are going to help us establish connection with other individuals that have like-minded interests with us that could potentially be a client for us, right? I actually just had a baby 3 months ago and started using the hashtag Realtor Mom. I am not a licensed agent. I just coach and teach you guys for a living. But I cannot tell you how many unbelievable and amazingly powerful conversations I had with a ton of other moms who were agents because I started using the hashtag Realtor Mom, right? On a post of me and my son. So it's so powerful if you start to think about that. Now, I will give you the example of my third places. If I were a practicing agent going out trying to generate leads off of Instagram as a realtor, my third places, number one would be the military. So military spouses, veteran-owned businesses, veteran-owned charities, local companies that support veterans, those types of places. My husband is medically retired and is now currently a contractor for the military. So it's a huge part of our life. We live in a very small military town now, just outside of Leesville, Louisiana. So that would be one of my pillars or third places, if you will. My second one would be the fitness industry or the fitness community. So I am a retired competitive CrossFitter. I swam for 18 years. I actually swam for Rutgers. So many of you guys, I know East Coast. I moved from California to go over to the East Coast. So, and I genuinely believe the East is better than the West. For me, the fitness side of things would be huge for me. So being able to engage on local CrossFit gyms, Olympic weightlifting type stuff. F45 has become a huge part of what I do for fitness now. So being able to tap into creating and establishing relationships with people based off their love of fitness as well would be one of my categories. And my third category would actually be pit bulls. I have 2 adopted rescue pit bulls. And I donate money every year to Pit Bulls and Parolees via Lobos Rescue Center in New Orleans. I just have a huge soft spot for pit bulls and for adopting. So I actually have a ton of friends that own charities, and it's something that I'm really passionate about. And I post about my dogs all the time. So I know that that would be a place for me to be able to create connection with others. So your third places are going to be super unique to you. No 2 of you on this presentation with me or this webinar with me, I should say, are probably the same, right? Because our passions and the things that make us are different. But those passion projects are where we should be engaging and where we should be spending time doing engagement with the idea or the intention that it's going to help us create connection with another person who has similar interests that can then lead to conversation, which can then lead to conversion, right? Ultimately getting that person we now have this great relationship with, even though it might be virtual, to potentially become a client. Now, all of you guys, I hope you wrote those 3 C's down, right? Create connection that leads to conversation that leads to connection. There are your 3 C's. And the idea is that we should never, ever be doing or pitching anybody on Instagram. We should never be sending a DM to somebody just saying, hey, I'm an agent in your area. I saw that you live in Maryland County. Or if you want to buy or sell a house, you should hire me, right? We should never, ever be sending messages like that. We should be letting the connection that we're able to build doing the stuff that I am trying to help you guys learn now to make that happen. Because that is more powerful, and creating the virtual handshake, establishing the like, know, and trust, which a lot of people talk about. That is how we do it, is by establishing categories for these third places. So the key here, right, is to spend time engaging there with your 45 and 20 comments that we already talked about. Now, I am going to give you guys just an example here, and I'm going to try to fly through this. I know there's some questions, so just bear with me, guys. But one of the things I talked about a little bit ago, right, is choosing a category every single day. So if I use myself as an example, I pretend that I'm a real estate agent and I have my 3 third places that I just gave you guys. On Monday, I'm going to focus on the pit bull community on Instagram based off of my local area, right? So I'm going to find shelters. I'm going to find other charities. I'm going to find pit bull rescue centers. I'm going to find all this stuff related to that in my local area. Now, how do I find a lot of that stuff? I Google it. Right? So Google the best rescues or best pit bull rescues in your area, and then go to Instagram and try to find their Instagram pages, right? Go find the charities that support them. Go find the local shelters, or the, maybe there's a foster mom that has an Instagram page because she fosters puppies all the time and then helps them, get homes, right? You have no idea what the power of that is unless you do the research to find it. So Monday would be my pit bull day. Tuesday would be my military specific day or military spouse day. And then Wednesday would be my fitness day. And then all I do for my 45 and 20 story replies is on Monday, I only focus on the pit bull community and those particular tags that are related to that. Tuesday, I only focus on the fitness community. Wednesday, I only focus on the military community. And then I just rinse, wash, and repeat. And that allows me to wake up every day with a specific intentional strategy where I know exactly what category I'm focusing on, and I don't have to try to do it all, right? And if you guys look up hashtags and start doing the research on this, it is incredibly easy to get stuck in the wormhole where all of a sudden you just found 15 awesome Instagram pages related to, veteran-owned businesses in your town without even trying. That's the beauty of Instagram, is it just allows us to keep going. So having a calendar, like I mentioned down here at the bottom, is so important to being able to actually execute those 45 and 20 consistently. Now let me get into this slide. And then before I get into it, I'm actually going to try to field some of these questions here. Okay. Let's go up here. I'm a musician and I have a band. I love that, Kathy. That's awesome. That would be a great thing, right? Finding other local musicians in your area, finding other local, maybe there's restaurant and bars that have like live music nights, that type of thing. Kind of getting into that would be a great one. LSU just got the Notre Dame coach and I grew up on a swim team. I love it, right? Nick, me too. I swam for Rutgers for all 4 years and swam competitively in California for 18 years before that. Now, Kathy says, does NAR allow us to use the word realtor in a handle? I used to be Kathy Realtor, but it was told years ago that you couldn't use that. That is not true. If you use the word realtor in your bio, you just need to put the little R next to it, the trademark R. But in your actual username, there is no reason why you cannot use the word realtor. That's absolutely false. Okay, Sakina says, yes, me too. I love pets and spend a lot of time looking at dog videos, LOL. So I should engage with them with my own dogs. Yes. So Sakina just brought up a great point. She loves pit bulls too. She spends a lot of time looking at dog videos. Well, guess what, Sakina, right? Your ideal client who you would probably love spending all day in a car with is somebody else who owns a pit bull. And somebody else who owns a pit bull is probably sitting at home watching a bunch of these dog videos too. So if you comment on a bunch of dog videos and they see your comment and they click on your page and realize that you love your pit bulls, you post about them all the time, and also that you're an agent, bingo, right? We have connection made. Easy conversation starter is talking about your dogs. That leads to connection, right? Potentially turning into conversion. Now, this is another reason I'm so glad you brought that up, because this leads back to the other question that one of you guys asked, which is the business versus personal page. Be a business page 100% and be personal on your business page. You do not even need a personal account if you don't have the time to manage one. You definitely don't have the time to manage two. So your business one should be just as personal as it is business specific. And I do not have time to get into, the different types of content that you should be making and all of that, but just know that it has to be both every time. And the example that Sakina just put in the chat box, that is exactly why that's so important. Is the professional dashboard is the professional dashboard the business page? Yes, it is, Patricia. Sherry says is compliant, not in Instagram seems weird. Yeah, it is, Sherry, to answer your question. Yes, realtor in your tag is fine. 2 rescue pitties here, great example. Love it, Tony. I love my pit bulls so much. I'm obsessed. I also have a Texas blue heeler in case anyone has blue heelers too. Kelly says, any chance it's been recorded so I can watch it again? Yes, Kelly, I believe Dan said in the very beginning that this is recorded. You guys can watch it on the back end again if you need to. Pretty sure you cannot use Pitbull Realtor though. Look it up before you commit. That is, I would beg to differ, Sherry, but I don't know. Okay, I'm going to keep going here for you guys so we can get into the third part. And this should be the easiest part for everybody as far as execution. And then I'll make sure I spend some time doing some questions with you guys because we're already at almost 12:50. So this is like flown by. 12:50 my time because I'm here in Texas. Now, answering the question of who should you be following, who should you not be following, what do you do with that? And I'm going to try to do my best to help you guys do this as effectively as possible. But choosing who to follow for yourself should be strategic. You do not need to go follow every single person that follows you. You certainly do not need to go on a following spree where you just go follow as many people as possible. You should be doing it with intention, and that is your sole purpose. So your ratio of how many people you are following versus the people that are following you should be good. So for example, I have, I don't know, something like 7,600 or 7,700 Instagram followers. And I only follow about 1,400, right? Because the people I follow are either course students, they are business partners of mine, they are clients of mine, they're employees of mine, right? They are people who are in my network or my sphere, and people that I want to be able to constantly stay in touch with, right? The people I want to stay top of mind with. So that leads to this third bullet point. So you should be following past and current clients, business partners, vendors, and tagging them in your content as much as possible. So if you post a picture of you and your other agent that's on your team or your buyer's agent, and you guys are going out to lunch, tag your buyer's agent in the post. Make sure you're obviously following them too. But starting to get in the habit of tagging and geotagging, which just means tagging your location, all of that is going to be really, really important with generating hyper local followings as well. So that is your third bullet point there down at the bottom. Now, this is the last thing. I know I kind of skipped quickly this slide, but this is kind of what we're leading into, is this concept of the life cycle of social media with getting the following that you really want. So one thing I want you guys to understand when it comes to generating hyper local followings and staying top of mind with your current and past clients, right? Which is so important. Everybody knows staying top of mind is key. There's a couple of things you need to do. Number one, your email marketing. Right? So once a month, you should be sending an email to your list telling them, hey guys, go follow me on Instagram. This email, I can tell you, I have had a ton of clients send it out to their email list, and the results speak for themselves, right? Getting and cross-pollinating your email list over to Instagram is so important. I cannot stress that enough. Now that leads into the second one, which is our personal Facebook pages. So our personal Facebook pages are where our sphere is, right? So these are our people who we maybe went to high school with. These are the people who our kids go to school with. So we're connected to their parents, right? We're connected to all kinds of people, way more than our business page. We all know to make reference, right, that our business pages, in all honesty, do crappy on Facebook because they just get no attention unless you pay for it. But our personal ones is where all of our traction is typically going to come. So when you post something on Instagram, if you want to post it on your personal Facebook, instead of copying and pasting the caption and saving the photo in your camera roll and posting it as a fresh post, there's a way for you to just copy the link directly to the Instagram post and sharing that on your personal Facebook page in the message or in the caption portion. And what it will do is it will populate the thumbnail of the Instagram post. So if somebody who's on your personal Facebook page wants to go see that post, they have to click on it, which will then open Instagram. And the idea here is that we're cross-pollinating our personal Facebook with our Instagram pages, right? A lot of people have asked me, is there a CSV file I can just download and upload into Instagram from my Facebook? The answer is no. I wish it was that simple, but it's not. But there's lots of ways that we can work around the system. And that second bullet point, guys, I can tell you is massively important. And it's so easy to do. You just have to copy a link. It is so fast. Same thing with that once a month email. Now, the third bullet point on here, I will tell you, is probably the most time consuming of all three. So this is typically something that I usually recommend you have an assistant do, somebody that's helping you with your social media. It's a tedious task, but it is something that is incredibly important for you to do. So once a month, taking inventory of your current and past clients, vendor partners that you're working with. If you have a title company you love, if you have a loan officer you're working with, if you have an inspector or a roofer, whatever it is, making sure that you're connected with them on social media. And typically that's just going to mean, looking at your database for the last month and saying, I had 5 closings, so I need to make sure I'm following all 5 of those families on Instagram if they're there. And again, that's something you can typically hand off to an assistant or somebody else. So before I go to that next slide, let me see if I can get through some of these questions here. Okay. Okay, let me go back up here. Thank you, Dan. Kathy shared a link. Rachel's asking, can we talk about Reels? We really don't have time to talk about Reels today. It wasn't part of my initial presentation. But if you have a specific question about Reels, Rachel, I'd be happy to answer it. Kathy says, Realtor can only be used with your name or part of your name. Correct. Thank you, Kathy, for sharing that article. Like I said, it can be in your username. I have hundreds and hundreds of clients that use Realtor in their username. If it's in your bio, again, you need to put the trademark R, but other than that, that's fine. Kathy says, okay, I'm going to move past that. Sherry says, real estate mom. Okay. Any other questions specific? Okay. Sherry says, average age of public that engage with Instagram, my clients skew 60 plus, although I do have clients in the 30, 40s. Great question, Sherry. Sorry, I'm just filtering through all of this. So great question. The answer is that yes, the older population is 100% using Instagram. If you look and track analytics, they are obviously a smaller percentage naturally right now, but in the last 2 years, my team and I have studied this. In 2019, the total number or the percentage of following that I personally had that were 55 and older was only about 3%. So it was really, really small. Now, in 2021, going into 2022, over 9% of my following is 55 and older. So that just goes to show you that that demographic is starting to catch up. Typically they use Facebook more. My parents are great examples of that, but my dad just got an Instagram a year ago. My dad is 64, right? My mom is 61. So that demographic is starting to use it way, way more. Typically it's a way for them to stay in contact with, their grandkids or their families. But the idea is that you are coming up in searches for them. And another thing that's really important to think about is that demographic, they are influenced typically when it comes to decision making by the 30 and 40-year-olds in their life, right? Their kids, people that they're doing business with, they're going to a restaurant and, getting a referral for somebody for something. So they're getting influenced by that population. So it's important to understand that 1, you have to have a presence, 2, you have to be social doing it, 3, and you have to encourage them to go use it if you have the opportunity to do so. So great question, Sherry. Couple of questions in the Q&A box. Is liking a post considered? I think we already answered that. Oh, I didn't move them over. Okay, that was my bad. All right. So for the sake of time, I'm going to make sure you guys have an opportunity to see this slide here. I actually have a really fun event that I'm doing tomorrow. I know it's a little bit short notice, but I'm actually here in Dallas to do an event with my very, very good friend, Kyle Draper, called Limitless. So if any of you guys are interested in a virtual attendance for that, we do have virtual tickets. It's a 5-hour seminar that we're doing specifically on pursuing discomfort on social media moving into 2022. And this event is something I'm super passionate about. And if you guys have ever heard of the story, the buffalo and the cow, right? It's a story in my psychology book in college, but it's a story that a lot of people tell. The idea is that we need to be buffalo, right? When it comes to a storm, typically buffalo, based off their research, go into the storm and kind of sit put and let the storm pass, whereas cows kind of try to keep going and try to chase or get away from the storm, ultimately leading them to having to endure the storm longer. So the idea is pursuing discomfort here. Social media is something that you guys know you need to have. Social media is something that you know you can't live without when it comes to being successful in this industry really anymore. And it's something that a lot of people are just not taking the time to challenge themselves and do because it's hard, right? Learning a new skill is hard. And Kyle and I are definitely excited to help all of those who are attending with us tomorrow overcome that. So I can drop the link in the chat box for that. But I love connecting with you guys. I love speaking and teaching and doing podcasts. So anyone who wants to do anything along those lines, I'd be happy to call or have a conversation about it. But most importantly, bullet point number 1 there, a lot of the information you guys learned today is just the catalyst to a lot of other things that I teach. The Instagram Power Method course is a huge online program. It is 86 videos, 21 homework assignments built into it with coaching available within it. And this course is everything you learned today times about 10, and with a ton of extra help and a ton of accountability and trainings and all of that, all written by yours truly. And I do have a full team of girls that actually work for me. So I'd be happy to connect with you guys off screen to chat about that if that's something that you guys would like. So I'm super excited to have had the opportunity to chat with all of you guys. And Dan, I don't know if you want to jump on and wrap us up, but it looks like we are right on time, which is perfect.
Thank you. This has been a wonderful, wonderful event. We've had a lot of great questions and you've provided us a lot of good information. So thank you for your time, Michelle. And we hope all our members have enjoyed this as well. And I just want to give everybody a heads up that we are having a special webinar on December 9th, next Thursday. It's a Q&A and it's a discovery for anybody who is interested in our Leadership Academy program. Our chair and vice chair of the Leadership Academy advisory group will be on hand to talk about the program and also answer any questions that you might have. It's going to be a great webinar and we hope you can join us. Again, Michelle, thank you. Your wisdom and your insight, I think, is valuable, and we really appreciate your time today. So thanks.
You are so welcome. Thank you for having me. Thank you all of you guys for taking the time to learn, and hopefully you guys took something away. And I'm excited to connect with you guys all off screen.
Awesome. Awesome. And again, folks, this video will be in our YouTube channel, ideally sometime next week, as soon as we edit the front and back ends to make it nice and tight for you folks. Thank you all. Thank you, Michelle. And thank you everybody for attending. We will see you at our next webinar. Bye.
Bye guys. Thank you.